Hey everybody, trying something new, trying to beef up the res of the camera. Not that you need to see my face, anyway, I'm the least important thing in these videos. Anyway, let's see how it goes. Let me know if the resolution is bad. I'll try to read the comments as I'm going through everything. This video today is about epic future bets, past bets, conviction, building bags over time, diversification, profit taking, game theory, and so much more. Big show today, as usual, always monsters on Sundays. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Thank you to people all over the world. Drop your flag in the chat. I'd love to see. I see the British flag right now. So let's get into it. And epic future bets. That's the story. And of course, I'm just a guy on the internet. You know the drill. This is not financial advice. And all the questions come from Patreon. Thank you so much. Let's get into the first one without further ado. From Mike7. Hi, James. Why wouldn't the fiat printing governments across the world print money to buy up all the Bitcoin? Wouldn't that cost them nothing? And how would that affect how people view Bitcoin's value? Very good question. And it's a question that people ask all the time. And you're thinking the right way, because governments can just print their fiat trash to infinity. And that's what they've been doing for years, decades, hundreds of years and more. But the question is, has it happened? Will it happen? Is it gradually happening? And I think we're at that weird juncture right now. By the way, Bitcoin hit 81,100 today. When I did this video a week ago, what was the price? It was like 67,000. 14 grand in a week. As I say, risk happens fast, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to futz around. When you make your early conviction bets, don't be shaken out and don't try to get too cute, okay? And this has been a Moonvember to remember. And by the way, 2 years ago, it was a very dark time, but that's how things change, okay? You can ride through the storm and you stay strong. So let's get into your question. Sorry about that digression. It may happen, but in the meantime, if a country was to print a whole bunch of fiat, it could trigger some inflation risks, because that's what printing excessive fiat does. It's a monetary problem. But governments cook the books on inflation numbers, so don't worry about that. Second, it could also undermine confidence in a government's currency. If the government prefers to buy Bitcoin, they may think, well, maybe that country's currency is crap, I'm not going to touch it. Also, large-scale acquisitions might conflict with existing regulations. Some countries, it might be against the law. And many governments view Bitcoin skeptically due to its volatility and speculative nature. But as I've been saying, 2025 is going to be the year of hardcore treasuries. Forget MicroStrategy. We're talking about other big players. May not be Microsoft, but others are coming. And the smart little Canadian firms are doing it every day right now. It's bonkers. But there's other stuff happening behind the scenes in the underbelly. Meanwhile, we have this. This is the countries with bags. So USA, 200,000 Bitcoin. China, 200,000. All confiscated, of course. UK, 61,000. Ukraine, 46,000. Germany had 50,000, but they decided to sell them at 56,000. And they must feel really stupid right now. And I'm very sorry for all the German people watching this channel right now. I'm sorry for your government. Sorry for the foolishness. We tried to cry out and say, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But they didn't listen. El Salvador buying one Bitcoin every single day. And now they have over $1 billion in Bitcoin. These values here, I think, are slightly out of date. So the other thing, needless to say, since the 5th of November, something big happened. And now you've got people like Cathie Wood, Tom Lee, and everybody talking about Bitcoin treasuries and sovereigns allocating a little bit to Bitcoin. Imagine the US is printing an extra $1 trillion every quarter, give or take, a couple of billion here, a couple of billion there. They could buy up the whole Bitcoin in a quarter if they wanted. Anyway, we'll see. Game theory. This is the thing that's been fascinating me since 2017 is the hardness of this asset and the scarcity and the fact that so much is lost. Something is going to kick off, and I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Thank you all as well for coming. All right, so next question is from UK Boomer, and this is a question a lot of people have and people are very concerned about, especially now as the value of Bitcoin has risen. You know, when you're buying at $3,000, $10,000, $15,000, and you got one or two of them, kind of like, yeah, if I lose this, not too bad. But once the price is on the way to 100 grand and you've got one Bitcoin, you start getting more concerned about protecting your assets. And that's the right way to be. So again, Team UK in the house again with a bunch of UK flags in the chat. This is actually, this is a separate question. I'm getting my questions jumbled up, but this one is when to start using the profit-taking model. I received your profit-taking model on 6th of September and set it up and took a little bit of profit starting at level 5. By the way, for me, I am starting to take profit perhaps at level 6. But now with all the tailwinds from MicroStrategy, I'm getting cold feet. I'm tempted to reset the start date, but my question is when? Or when TABI turns orange. So this is kind of a big part of it. We'll get to the other issue regarding Bitcoin in a minute, get the Bitcoin questions out of the way, and then we get to the really exciting stuff too. But first of all, profit taking, make sure you do a couple of things. One, align it with your targets. Make sure you enter the right cost basis. So what I mean by that is, if your cost basis is $10,000, you have a very different risk profile to somebody whose cost basis is $60,000 or $42,000. So make sure that's plugged in correctly. Also set your exit aggression. So how much you want to take off the table. I do recommend, of course, never selling all your Bitcoin, but it's up to you. Do you want to sell 30%, 20%, maybe 50 or 60%? That's up to you, but I definitely recommend holding at least 30 to 50% of it as well, or maybe hold it all, because we could get, this is now a situation where we could get that perpetual bid on Bitcoin because of the big buyers, the sovereigns. Maybe if the US does treasuries, I'm never selling Bitcoin. I'm never taking profit. Same thing goes for MicroStrategy with the $42 billion ATM. Everything is about to kick off. So anything that we may have said in 2022, 2023 about taking profits, watch this space very carefully. Finally, make sure you keep some. Maybe keep it all, depending on where we go. Now, you did mention the top big day, big deck. You're talking about profit taking between Tesla and MicroStrategy and what to do, what to rotate into. This is the Tesla MicroStrategy chart, which I look at a lot. I expect this to open very strong on Monday because MicroStrategy is going to pop. But Tesla could do as well. But Tesla's been on a huge rampage, so maybe it's a little bit out of steam. But you have that tight range of how these things operate right now. So remember, you're on two winning horses. You're on two fast horses. Don't get too bogged down. And for things like Tesla, for me, that's a long-term hold. We'll get to Tesla price targets in a minute. I have never sold a Tesla share. Yes, I'm swapping in an experimental account between Tesla and MicroStrategy, tax-free, because I'm trying to build a model around that. That's why I'm doing it. It's like $1 million experiment, but it's fun. And it's worked really well so far. But don't do this at home, kids, unless you really know what you're doing. But they're both winners, and I have no intention of selling Tesla because I know where it's going. We'll get to that in a minute too. So, and final thing, let's check in on where we are in terms of Bitcoin. All the on-chain indicators that I look at, all of the numbers, all of the money flow, all of the ETF flows, I do nothing but analyze a truckload of data every single day and do nothing but build models around that data. So check in first with CheckMakte. Here, he says, even with these fresh Bitcoin all-time highs, the distance between price and the 200-day moving average is still cooled off. The Meyer multiple Z-score is only just above zero, meaning that we're near the long-term average with plenty of room to run. We have not got frothy yet. Thank you to CheckMakte for sharing that 13 hours ago. And my version of that world is this, the top and bottom indicator for Bitcoin. Checking in, we are still yellow. We are nowhere near orange. We are nowhere near dark orange or red. Red is the danger zone, ladies and gentlemen. We are still cool as a cucumber, lime green on the beach almost, and despite the huge moves. So hold tight, everybody. You know, it's all up to you. If you have, for example, you've made life-changing money, it's always prudent to take some off the table and get something that you need, like a castle, a house, a ranch, a boat, a car, whatever you want. Education for your kids. That, of course, is always fine. But remember, we're still early, according to this. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's too many tailwinds right now. Now, next question. And let me see. Hi, James. Just turned 21. And the past couple of years have been incredible, thanks to you. And by the way, I'm so mind blown. We have a whole bunch of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. It truly warms my heart. My portfolio at 21 is nearing the 6-figure mark. So I'm starting to think a little deeper about my strategy over the next few decades. I'd like to hit 8 figures by 50. I can tell you right now, that's a lock. If you made 100 grand by the time you're 21, you probably make 8 figures at this rate by the time you're 30, to be honest. If you continue doing what you're doing, all right? It's not hard. And as I say, and many people say this too, making the first 100K is hard. The first million is easy. And then to go to 8 digits, easier again. So it's like the more money you have, the more tools you have, and the more power you have to create exponential gains. The simple fact of life. So back to you. So I'm currently heavily in Tesla, NVIDIA, Bitcoin, the Qs, and some Solana. I know you don't believe in ETFs, but I do have comfort in stashing away, say, 25% into QQQ as a solid, safe investment, as it's concentrated in big tech and has had a 10-year compound annual growth rate of about 18%. And do you think this is a fair approach for someone who has time on their side, i.e. small snowball with a long hill? I love that analogy, and you listen very well. Or would you scrap it and just allocate to individual equities, even with potentially diminishing returns? The growth rate should still get me to my goal with the amount I will contribute annually. Not financial advice. Sorry for the long questions. Not a long question at all. So, first of all, I don't like indexes. I don't like ETFs. I want to make my own allocation decisions. And I'm different. I'm not your average investor. I don't do retirement funds or stuff like that. So take this with a grain of salt. Let's look at the QQQ first of all. And here, once again, I do not like forced allocations. Yes, 18%. 18% CAGR is great. 14% is what you need to keep your head above water before you drown. So you're making 4% over the 14%, 18%. So it's not as sexy as it sounds. And remember, 8 digits by the time you're 50 will be like 7 digits today. All right? Maybe even less, depending on how things go with fiat. So bear that in mind too, but you're going to be just fine because you're in hard assets. But if you look at this chart here for a second, as you know, I'm very bullish on the future of Tesla. We'll get to that in a minute. But Tesla's only 2.7% of the Qs. That's not good enough for me. I want much, much more exposure. NVIDIA, I was in it. I moved the 80% of the NVIDIA investment over to Tesla, etc. You have 100 things here in the Qs. A lot of them are garbage. A lot of them will not go anywhere, and it's driven by the main winners. Let's look at the main winners over the last year. I'll point out a couple of things. NVIDIA, 216%. Google, 34%. Amazon, 46%. Tesla, 45%. Microsoft, 16%. People saying, oh, Microsoft's been incredible. It's the top AI play. Yeah, well, 14% is my hurdle rate. They only made 16. That's not going to cut it for me. Apple, 24%. Vision goggle failure, car failure, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, you know, it's not hard to excise out the winners, and that's what you should do. And also because you got time, you can afford to make mistakes. But we'll get to what making the right decisions can actually do to your bag in a short window of time too. And remember as well, go to the guru Warren Buffett. He says, wide diversification is only required when investors do not understand what they are doing. I spent 35 years looking at allocations, portfolio management, all that type of stuff. And when you see people with 60 items in their portfolio, you just go, yeah, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're idiots. So, yes, I feel like the guy in Argentina, La Fuera, idiots. But La Fuera doesn't mean idiots. I know that, of course. So getting back to your story, think about being in the winning assets, heavy concentrations. You know where they're going to go over the next 5 to 10 years. And I'll talk about one of those in a minute too. And that will be Tesla. So we'll see. I created a new price prediction model based on Cern Basher's numbers from the other day. Next question, and congratulations again, by the way, 21 years of age, having 6 digits. You're well set. Well set. Just stay healthy. Next, from Juju John Bitcoin. Hi, James. Myself, my wife are huge Tesla bulls and putting plans and goals in place. We know you have made 1,000 MicroStrategy millionaires. By the way, I tweeted something yesterday, I think. It was a funny little tweet on Twitter. And there's actually a lot more than that because there's at least 5 or 10 that have made it too. So it's crazy. And there'll be a lot more probably on Monday. But back to your question, wondered if we could apply the same strategy for Tesla, as the dream would be to become a millionaire one day. And please, could you talk us through the trade and if the same principles apply for Tesla? Many thanks and kind regards. So let's get into the delta between MicroStrategy and Tesla. And yes, in 2022, early 2023, I took a huge risk. I said to myself, and this ties into another question later, I didn't want to do self-custody Bitcoin. I didn't want to buy spot Bitcoin. I much rather play very, very aggressive option strategies on MicroStrategy. Now, that being said, I knew MicroStrategy would outperform Bitcoin. That's what I knew. And I knew they'd continue to buy Bitcoin because that's what Sailor does. So I knew it was going to go up. Think of Bitcoin as a call option in the future. MicroStrategy is a call option on the future with leverage. And then I add more leverage to that. It has been beyond mind-blowing. This was an extraordinary trade. And since we got into that, MicroStrategy is up 1,810% at the bottom of the bear in just 96 weeks. That's less than 2 years. So yes, it was extraordinary. Now, we compare that to Tesla. Tesla's only up 184%, basically a tenth of what MicroStrategy is from the bottom of the bear. But that was always kind of my safe play. And we got in at 106, 115, 120, 140, 150 a few times, 160, etc. And Tesla needs more time to get to the same 10x. But the good news is the 10x is coming. And by the way, this also goes back to this question from Canadian Hodler. All right. You got 6 digits. Okay. You're going to 10x your 6 digits. That means you got 7 digits. And then you have another 25 years to 10x that again. That's why I say it's going to be so easy for you to get to 8 digits. Don't worry about that at all. But again, Tesla doesn't move as fast. It's a much bigger asset than MicroStrategy. And regarding the 10x, we have Ron Barron. This guy is a guru, and everything he says comes true. He's a legend investor, and he's heavy into SpaceX. We'll talk more about SpaceX in a minute too, and heavy into Tesla. And he thinks there's 10 times more to go in Tesla, i.e. another 10x. Now, friend of the channel, Stern Basher, was on with Herbert. I'll be on Cyberbulls, I think, next week, by the way. We're streaming live, so it'll be a fun one. But I updated Stern Basher's numbers into my model, except, his were heavily sandbagged. And I took just a third of his numbers and punched them into my model. And this is where things get really crazy. I even took off 2031, 2032, 2033 because those numbers are just insane. If Tesla can execute with Robotaxi and the bot and everything else, which I believe they can, and I allocate a very small, like a 20% chance that they can do it, which I believe they will, with heavily sandbagged numbers. And this is where it gets nuts. Again, I took 1/3 of Stern Basher's numbers. It is a more moderate growth scenario. And if CERN is right, and my model is right, Tesla could be a $20,000 stock in 2030. Now, that is based on price to earnings ratios, actual earnings being booked. We don't know if that's going to happen. So you can take this, add 3 years to 2033, and that should most probably happen. So you can buy literally Tesla for $200 a few weeks ago, and it's going to 20,000 in less than 10 years. Could be 5 or 6 years. We don't know, but it's going to be insane. Now, people say, you're absolutely nuts. Maybe. But this is just the math of exponentiality that few understand. The power of AI. The robotaxi alone is huge. Let's blow this up so you can see. The robotaxi business alone should be worth... Oh, I can't read those numbers. I'll check them out. But if you add it all together, all the different component parts, this is all the businesses: Dojo, Optimus, Superchargers, Megapack, semi-trucks, fleet and entertainment apps, fleet inference, robotaxi, insurance, FSD, automobile. It's all bonkers. And people don't realize how bonkers it's going to be. And also, it's all very, very, very high margin profit. Okay? Think NVIDIA on steroids is going to be bonkers. So we'll see what happens. That's why I will not sell Tesla, because I believe where it's going. And I know not to fade Elon Musk as well. So hope that helps. We'll get there. It'll take longer than 97 weeks like we did in MicroStrategy. It might take 6 years, 7 years. And I won't get into the strategy I use to do that. You know what it is in Patreon. And it's very risky for people that don't understand how to play options. But anyway, hope that helps. Just be patient and allocate responsibly. We're in the crypto, moon boy time. It's going to be crazy for the next year. Could even run forever. Who knows? But, and then we'll try to rotate. But in the meantime, just for the last 22 months, for example, all I've been doing pretty much is stacking Tesla when it was cheap. Oh, I did not buy any Bitcoin or anything like that. Anyway, next question. This is from White Bunny. Governments around the world are becoming more authoritarian and extracting higher taxes, as demonstrated in the recent UK budget. Should Bitcoin holders be concerned about the possibility of government targeting Bitcoin holdings in the future, especially Bitcoin proxies with pension schemes where pure ownership and self-custody are not an option? And how could the government feasibly implement such measures? And what strategies could investors adopt to protect their assets under these conditions? So this is kind of weird. Welcome to the community, White Bunny. And I'm not going to get political, but I do see way more authoritarianism. Governments trying to clamp down on freedom of speech. Governments forcing citizens to do certain things. Governments trying to go after things like unrealized capital gains taxes because they have a shortfall. They have a huge influx of, say, foreigners. And there's nothing wrong with foreigners, of course. If I say that, people go, oh my God, he's terrible. But the system can't sustain all the new citizens on top of the existing citizens. I hope people understand that and don't get offended. It's just a simple math problem. Now, there are a whole bunch of other things that actually have a more of a positive aspect. But first of all, governments could try and kill Bitcoin, but they can't. Okay, BlackRock's in the game right now. And what would they do if they start going after, say, retirement accounts and pension accounts of people? It means what's happening in the UK right now, 10,000 millionaires have already left the UK. And by the way, within those millionaires, there's many decamillionaires, 100 millionaires, and billionaires. They're all fleeing, okay, because they do not like the regime. And then it takes the government a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 to realize, our tax base has disappeared. What happened? And then they make it more friendly. And then these millionaires will come back, hopefully. But you can't kill Bitcoin. So don't worry about that happening. But you can do a couple of things. First of all, these are all the countries shortlist. There's way more than this that are trying to ban Bitcoin over the years. China, Nigeria, Nepal, Bangladesh, Algeria, Egypt, Bolivia, Morocco, and on and on and on. Even, I think, Venezuela too, and a whole bunch of different places. You can't kill Bitcoin, okay? It's decentralized. You can't kill it even if you try. But what you can do to protect yourself, if you are ultra paranoid and worried about the Orwellian future, self-custody, of course. You can store your Bitcoin in personal wallets rather than on exchanges or in a pension account or whatever, if that's possible. You could also geographically diversify. You could spread those wallets or those assets in Bitcoin across multiple jurisdictions. You can also use privacy measures like coin mixers, although many governments are trying to ban them too. Beware of potential legal implications if you are touching those coin mixers. Also, keep an eye on your Orwellian government. Make sure they don't go off the cliff too fast and go after your bags. anything is possible. The future is both bright and in some places very scary. So you're thinking the right way. But, I think, the minute the UK government tries to confiscate or do unrealized capital gains taxes on Bitcoin and pension funds will be the minute the country will or the regime will be overthrown by the people. Again, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And this other question, too, is kind of related to all the Bitcoin questions before, and then we get into the fun stuff. So hold on, bear with me 1 second. This is from Cornhead. I am of retirement age and had the same concerns about becoming unable to manage my self-custody of Bitcoin on my 2 cold wallets in the future. You have said a couple of times that you don't self-custody your Bitcoin in a cold wallet, but where do you actually keep your spot Bitcoin? And do you leave them on exchanges or what? Please be specific if you can. And what is the best way for me to protect my family's Bitcoin? Okay, so this is cool. So it's like the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. I keep, first of all, I'm mostly, it's no secret, mostly MicroStrategy, because I was afraid of self-custody and having that responsibility. In case something happened to me, I come off a motorbike, smash my head, or a snowboard, smash my head, or somebody crashes into me and I'm not in a Tesla, whatever. Very scary stuff. So I made that informed decision back in 2022 that I thought I could make a lot more money not buying spot Bitcoin. And that's just me. It's a personal decision. And boy, has it paid off. Anyhow, what you can do, these are just some things. And we've made tons of videos about how to leave Bitcoin to loved ones and multi-sig wallets and all that type of stuff. But first of all, spread it around. You got 2 wallets. You're doing that right, which is good. You can do multi-sig, which set up of 2 of 3 or 3 of 5 multi-sig wallets where you, a trusted family member, and potentially a third party like a lawyer or something or a close family friend can hold some of the keys. Now, this provides redundancy while preventing any single party from accessing the funds alone. We had a very scary story this week in the community. Anyhow, moving on from that, you have other solutions like Unchained Capital that can help you with this stuff. Also, partial seeds with partial people, which is kind of like multi-sig you could do as well. Even park multiple versions of things in multiple places in case you hide something in somebody's house and their house burns down. Be prepared for that too. I like to have stuff in a place where I can't even touch it if I want. It's completely locked down. I don't even have access, but that's kind of a long-term bag that is there for kind of like if anything happens. Also, you can consider setting up things like a dead man switch, which automatically sends decryption keys and instructions to your family after a period of inactivity. And there's so much stuff that you can do, lawyers, etc. Also, what's actually become very fashionable now too is kind of like a little bit like what I did. That was self-custody options and non-Bitcoin self-custody options. And it's funny because I'm very big on risk management and I don't even trust myself with the bloody wallet. And I am pretty sophisticated. So I just didn't feel, imagine you have, $100,000 in a little thing and something happens. It's just such a waste. It didn't sit well with me. And that's quite different now. So you could also move to an ETF. I'm much more confident with a brokerage firm handling or holding ETFs. And by the way, I don't have any Bitcoin ETFs, just for the record. Move to MicroStrategy. That's been my plan since 2022. Also, hey SolStrider, you could move to reputable custodians, Fidelity, Coinbase. There's a big bank or a couple of banks in New York that will start doing this as well for individuals, high net worth individuals too. So those options exist, and that's what I kind of consider doing, because you probably already have some type of brokerage account, retirement account. Take the hit, sell your Bitcoin, move it to cash, move it to a brokerage account, buy the ETF. And maybe, the top of the market could be the good time to do that as long as you can handle the taxes. I know many people right now are sitting on massive, massive unrealized capital gains, so be conscious of that too. Next question is from Optimus Hiive. I love the way you used the word hive. We'll get to that in a second. I'm grateful to you and your team, James. You are all incredible. Thank you. And thank you to the team behind me, by the way. I read your Hiive Markets post on Patreon and quickly became an accredited investor. I was surprised to learn that aside from SpaceX, shares of XAI were also available for purchase. And this got me thinking, over the next 5 years, which of the two companies has the most potential for future growth and future returns, and in what proportions should I deploy my capital? Wow, this is such a good question. So Hiive Capital is a solution where you can buy on kind of like a secondhand market to buy stocks. This is SpaceX, real-time quote from an hour ago or so. And you can see ever since November 5th, guess what? Well, SpaceX went up a lot because that's very, very important to any government that wants to have global communications, especially for military, etc. It is absolutely critical. So this, when I first shared that post, this stock was at $121. Now it's nearly 137, and it's going higher. Second, this is XAI, $21.18. Also had a spike since November 5th. Very different plays. So what I did was I backed into calculating exactly what their market caps are, what the number of shares are, etc. for both these companies. And you'll see something very peculiar here from the cap table. And this share count is not a coincidence. Obviously, the same person who put together the SpaceX cap table is probably doing the same thing with XAI. And you can see here my estimate. Now, I could be off, but I'm normally pretty precise, within 5 or 10%. My estimate of SpaceX shares is 1.875 billion shares, market cap $260 billion. XAI, they have, based on my calculation of shares, 1.9 billion shares, which is almost the same as SpaceX, market cap of approximately 40 billion. So, but the prices vary across these different stocks, etc. I just did this back of a napkin real fast. I could be off, but one company is a lot more established, a lot bigger than the other, which is an issue. So $260 billion versus 40, so it's like 5x larger, approximately 6x larger, depending on how you value it. And what do you want more? So let's dig into it real fast. I could talk for hours about SpaceX and XAI, but I'll make it very brief. First of all, XAI is now doing a lot with cruise ships. Shout out to Mike, who's going on a cruise. All the good cruise ships now have Starlink, and people can actually work from boats, which is awesome. And I also believe any airline that does not have Starlink in the very near future will probably shrivel up and die, because communications are so important. And this is from Story of Merit. Qatar Airways has officially introduced SpaceX's Starlink on one of its planes, the world's first Boeing 777 Starlink-equipped flight. United Airlines in the US is also adding it to their flight too. And this is a game changer, because if you've ever gone international and you ever tried to get internet, it's like sucking a golf ball through a hose. I haven't actually tried that, but it sounds impossible. But that's how useful internet is on a plane. It is terrible, terrible bad. So terribly bad. So that's this. And also global communications. If you want to bring, say, rural internet to parts of the United States, this guy could have solved that problem years ago. Instead, the US government decided to waste $50 billion on a bullshit grift that's out there. Anyway, we won't talk about that. Now, the other side of the coin is XAI. This one is incredible. They already have 100,000 GPUs live in a place called Memphis, Tennessee. They have just decided to double Colossus. So not only is it the biggest supercomputer in the world, it's going to be twice as big as anything else. And then they got another similar thing happening in Austin for FSD compute and everything else. I mean, it's outrageous. And their XAI is about to eclipse the capabilities of ChatGPT and all the other engines. As I always say, don't fade Elon. If he gets his teeth into something, he will win. And that's just a fact of life. So the solution for you, I think, given that brief intro, I don't have full financial info to appraise. I do know SpaceX is doubling in terms of number of users around the planet over the next 12 months. And SpaceX has a larger market cap. It's more established, therefore less risky. But XAI is smaller, 40 billion market cap, much more upside. Both will win. I think SpaceX is easily $1 trillion company. So that's 4x from here. XAI, I don't know how they're going to monetize what they do. That could be huge too. It might take them a lot longer to get to $1 trillion, but both will win. And it sounds really cliche. I go half-half. Not 60-40, not 40-60, half-half. XAI, more risk, more upside. SpaceX, more established, safer. And that's how you manage your allocations and risk. Hope that helps. Next, this is from Tom B. The first time you've posted. Welcome to the family. Could you talk about a profit strategy for Sol, profit-taking strategy for Sol? I bought a lot at $100, and I'm sure when to sell based on the sky-high predictions for Sol for this bull run, like $1,000, etc. Any guidance would help. So I do a big thing that I love to do is build price prediction models, and most of mine are very heavily sandbagged. My Sol price prediction for this bull run was expected case like 250, bull case 363, and we are currently, where are we now? It was 210 not too long ago, 210, 215. So we're getting closer to those kind of levels. But let's talk about one thing first. This is a model. Everybody can get it. Link will be here after the show. It's the Sol Upside model. Here you can build your own little scenarios. So this is basically, it was a crude thing that I built in 2021 with the team. And the original price, I think, was 5 or 6% of ETH, and then 10% of ETH, and then 20% of ETH, 33%, 50%, and 70%. But ever since I built this thing, and in fact, Cardano used to be on this list too. It still is, in fact, but that was smoked a long time ago. But my thesis was, okay, Solana is the ETH killer, and this is how you should think about how you appraise it. So we smoked all the levels. 20% ETH is just destroyed. We're above that now. ETH is above 3,000, which you see the big spike there. That's ETH spiking, so well done to ETH. But if you take the true value of Solana being 33% of ETH, that today would be worth $272, assuming the price of ETH does not go up anymore. Of course it will, and that will float all boats, including the target for 33% of ETH for Sol. 50% is 411, and 70% is 578. So I think you can conservatively take somewhere between 272 and 411 and think of that as an exit point. But there's more. This is kind of where it gets really, really crazy. And this is way beyond my wildest dreams, and I've been doing nothing but modeling cryptos, again, since 2021, in a heavy way across many different dimensions. If you look at just ETH versus Sol, Nakamoto 2 versus 18, Sol is more decentralized than Ethereum. And people won't believe that, but it's actually a fact of life. Block time, way too slow. Ethereum is way too slow. Finality, way too slow. Speed, horrific. Daily transactions, 1.1 million versus 40 million on Solana. That's 3,300% better. Daily active users, 360,000 versus 5.2 million on Solana. And daily transactions per user, Solana stickier. And the fees are 4 million% cheaper. 4 million%. So, and I know they have L2s, and the L2s are eating them alive, and I understand all that. But the core thing, the core layer one is not scaling, and it's been eaten alive by its own L2s, been cannibalized. And that's a problem. If I was using my traditional TradFi metrics to appraise a blockchain, like I would any other business, literally, Solana should be 5 or 10 times more expensive in market cap than Ethereum. All right? And that's just a fact. No matter which way I cut it, slice it, dice it, that's just the reality. And even Toli said yesterday, ETH is legacy. It's a legacy asset. It's not going to cut it for the future unless they can somehow revamp it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I now the ETH max is after me. This is just numbers, okay? Don't shoot me, shoot the numbers. Numbers are fake. That's like one other thing too. This is also what's happening behind the scenes for Solana. Winner takes most, as is the way of the universe. If you watch his channel, you know that. And shout out to BlueDragon. He said 32,000 Sol were just purchased on Coinbase an hour or two ago. And that's a big buy. So people are getting ready for something. I wonder what they're getting ready for. So whoever made this purchase is front-running what's coming. And that is FTX are distributing their funds, 16 billion cash coming out. Most of the people that had their money locked up with FTX had Solana. They don't have it now. It was taken away from them. Now they want it back. So I reckon at least $1 billion of the $16 billion will go back into Solana. And that's why people like this are front running. And finally, back, if you want to get really scientific about profit taking, this is our baby, profit taking model. I will be doing a masterclass on this soon. But you can see here that based on the profit taking model, based on my settings, we're going way higher. And we're just at level 5 now. Again, as I said at the beginning, I don't start taking profits till level 6. And even at that, I have to reassess exactly where we are. So build your own target like we discussed earlier before, your own risk appetite, your cost basis, you got all the ingredients, and use this as a disciplined way. And of course, when you move to cash, don't move to cash. Rotate into something else. It's okay to hold cash for 3 months or so, but don't hold it for too long. Not financial advice. Hope that helps. And Bob1, do SOLAlts that I recommended. That's me earlier in the year and late 2023, by the way. Count as being dead if they are more than 60% below all-time highs. Great question. So I've got this thesis called zombie coins, and I figured this out in previous bull runs. That is, if something that was hot during a cycle that made an all-time high, you go to your EOSs and your XRPs and all that stuff. If we're over halfway through the bull run and they are still more than 60% away from all-time highs, mathematically, it's very unlikely they'll ever reach an all-time high again. They become dead, or as Tolley would say, legacy. Legacy. Do not own legacy. Old, dead. Look at all the data. Look at all the stuff. I share it all the time. Adoption, transactions, DEX volumes, trading volumes, you name it, TVL. It's all there. It's all there for you to see. Chains that don't have that good stuff going on, they're dead. Are they going to arise from the dead? Maybe 1 or 2% of cases could. But remember, 99.5% of all crypto is a scam. I used to say be in the top 1%. Forget that. Be in the top half of 1% right now. And regarding the SOLAlts, we got into the earliest ones. I think it was late 2023. Things like Nosana. And I always recommend that my experiment was to allocate 5% of my Solana bag into tokens with good fundamentals, good product market fit, good tokenomics, and get in early. Because that's kind of my thing. And Nosana alone for me has made it worthwhile. So I haven't lost anything, even though some got completely hammered. But I also allocate very heavily to a few winning assets. And they are names like Nosana, Jupiter, Radium, things like that. Safer plays. And I have tiny little positions and other little riskier ones that are out there too. So that's the situation. These are all new. Therefore, they don't have a chance of being a zombie. Perhaps next cycle. Like if we come back to these and you look at something and it's like 60, 80% off its all-time high and it's 4 years old, yeah, it'll be a zombie. And that's how it works. Next question. James, I want to subscribe to the IA tools, but I have a full-time job, so won't be able to spend a lot of time understanding many tools. What is minimum set of tools you suggest for a swing trader and long-term investor who would be comfortable buying, selling stocks and crypto? Excellent question. So shout out to Sanjay. I actually built this with him in mind. Same thing, day job, can only look at it kind of early morning, before breakfast, lunchtime briefly, after work, weekends. That's exactly what the HM model is designed for. 12-hour time frame, 24-hour time frame, daily chart, and it'll help you identify opportunities very quickly and easily, even for pairs, for foreign exchange, for crypto, stocks, disruption, you name it. And favorite part of the show, everybody, helping animals. This is Corbesa. Little baby fell into a well as a young calf, unable to get out herself, but she was rehabilitated. Now she's living in the elephant sanctuary and is obsessed with her bedroom, has a radio on all the time, and loves Kenyan music. Shout out to anybody from Kenya here in the audience. Please go say hi to Corbesa if they see. And that is a shout out as well to Sheldrick Wildlife Trust that helps support the animals. Now, we do have a little change coming up, everybody. As you know, I like things to be very regular and consistent, but due to some travel plans for one of our members, we have to move DCA to Tuesday. And I know people are very excited for it tomorrow. It's going to be Tuesday instead, and Octa will be tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for the like and the support. Thank you to mods and chat, everybody who came as well. Appreciate you all, SolStrider 2. I'm going to now take some live questions. And I love this part. And thank you as well to the mods for pulling all the questions in for me as well. And they should be coming. I don't see them yet. But in the meantime, let me see. There's a quick question from BRP. SCS and chat. Where are the questions? Hold on a second. I've got a dead connection or I'm not getting the questions. Am I dead here? Hi from Zimbabwe. Anyway, there they are. Let me see. Doc Simple. Another doc. We have so many medical professionals in this community. It's insane. Thanks for NFA converting kids 529 to brokerage, selling puts on Tesla and MicroStrategy, buying 2025 calls. Thoughts? Yeah, you can do that. I sell a lot of puts to buy calls. It's kind of like my bread and butter. Yeah, do it all day long. But be careful. Sometimes this is a warning, all right? I call it jumping in front of a freight train. You're not talking about that, Doc Simple, but sometimes people want to sell calls against very disruptive stocks. And some people sold like a bunch of, say, $300 calls that were way out of the money for Tesla. And then, as usual, risk happens fast. Boom, you sell things for pennies, and then you get creamed because it just moves too fast. But yeah, Doc Simple all day long. And you get huge premiums right now, like selling puts. As long as you got lots of capital, sell puts all day long. And I'd actually go June 2025. No, sorry. Just seeing that piece now. When you're buying a leap, always go out more than a year. I like a year and a half myself. So I actually got a question this morning. So if I was looking at leaps now, I'd be at least mid-2026 to end of 2026. So the more time you buy, it's actually cheaper and safer, and you get better results as well. The Super Trooper 108. What are your thoughts on the recent claim by I'm not going to say that word on the channel. CH been invited to help the Trump team with crypto regulation. I think the Trump team is smart. I think if they wanted somebody that understands crypto, they'd talk to like a Brian Armstrong at Coinbase or maybe Toly or Mert or somebody like that. Not Super Trooper. You're going to get me in trouble here. Not that person. He's too shaky. Like he hated Bitcoin and all of a sudden he likes it again. It's just weird. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. I always have no filter. I say what I mean. There's better people in the space to refer to. And by the way, I think the token itself is pumping because people think now that guy could be part of the administration and Cardano would be part of the US. And yeah. Anyhow, happy feet. Good to see you again. With Sailor continuing to buy, if you had $10,000 and you could pick only one asset, Tesla, MicroStrategy, Solana, or Bitcoin, which one would you invest in? NFA. Whew. Yeah, it's so hard to answer these questions because if you'd asked me that 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, the answers would be completely different. You got to look at a point in time. Right now, I think if I could buy right now, this instant, it would be MicroStrategy. And that would be, and I'm going to say the price live, that'd be at $269. That's what I buy right now. And I get ready to hold it as well. Or hold it for a while and then maybe sell it and get out. After the huge rampage that Tesla went up, 50% in a couple of weeks, that's hard to sustain. Bitcoin hasn't made that type of move yet. MicroStrategy has, but then it's slowed down. But 269, I would make that being the top performer right now. Now, Solana could also, like we talked about, go on a rampage, but it's also a riskier asset. So hope that helps. And happy feet. Again, you've helped our family so much. Thank you so much for the animals. Thank you. So we put all this to good use. And Iger Kalda, journeying with you has truly transformed my life. Thank you. And may you enjoy endless health and success. Thank you. Health is all I care about. Success is already in the bag. So, but every stay healthy is a good message there too. And BoxFed, if I'm in profit with my stocks and I have margin and I sell only the amount of stocks that is worth of my margin, am I taxed on that? Yes. You sell or you switch anything, you're taxed. You move anything, you are taxed. Okay, so bear that in mind. Yeah, and the margin is just like leverage on your position. Sir Winston, a Make America Healthy Again donated to the animals, and thank you for all you do. Thank you, Sir Winston. You rock, and good to see you again. Max Grease, 6-month price guess for Bitcoin if treasury asset. Holy crap. If Bitcoin becomes a treasury asset in 6 months, I'm going to be very bold here. I'll say 150,000, and my target's 120. But if game theory kicks in with sovereigns in a big way, I'm not talking little El Salvador's buying 1 Bitcoin a day. I'm talking big sovereigns like a top 20 country, even in Argentina, which I think is a top 20 country. It will go bonkers. We'll be at 150K within no time. And that's just because there's simply no... when you break this down, you got to think about, there's people willing to take lifestyle chips that say 100K, 120K, whatever. What happens to those people when they find out Bitcoin's going to become a sovereign treasury asset? You know what they do? They have their tap dancing shoes on and they change their plan. And they say, hell's no, I'm not selling my Bitcoin because I know it's going to $1 million now. And they will hold. When everybody does that, there is no supply available. That's it. Michael Saylor will buy up all the mine supply himself over the next 3 years. And he's getting ready to buy soon. I can sense it. What's that meme? Oh, I shouldn't say it. No. In my fruits, I can sense he's going to buy soon. So, yeah, Max Grease, great question. Everything changes. That's why you have to, I always say, keep your head out the window. Look at the macro. Look at what's happening, because that will help you determine, do you exit or not? Like, for example, MicroStrategy, my biggest holding, my thesis on that and profit taking completely changed when he said he's going to buy 42 billion of Bitcoin. It changes MicroStrategy. It changes the price of Bitcoin. It changes the scarcity of Bitcoin. It changes everything radically. It changes the perpetual bid theory that I had for 20%. Now it's like 35%. Everything's mad. Anyway, thank you for your super sticker, Satoshi Stacker, Forrest M, Clint KPM, Thirsty Sponge, Freedom, Adam Q, Sylvan Muster, Johnny Godcandle, Pancake Panda. I got a long list today. Invested, Mike 39, Teslaroo, Spartaean, Dog1, Boxfed TV. I hope you're not watching TV. Metageist, Signal 103, Doc Inter, another doctor's here. Middle class investing. You're going to be upper class investing soon. Sol Strider, DBF 430, Morpheus, Sean Esmende, Brad S, Satoshi Stacker, and Nagesh C. Thank you all for coming. You will rock. Stay healthy. Most important thing. Our bags will be fine. You just need to take care of yourselves. Have a good night. See you tomorrow for Okta. Bye-bye.